majority of the time, when I see Taj jump in a car, he's jumping in the passenger. So if he's jumping in the passenger, clearly that's not his, right? And then and being that it's not his, you can't tie. I seen Taj get in a car with Jersey plates. So what's the big deal? You go on the bus, they got freaking whatever put this on it. Like what? That's what I was saying. Like, what's the big deal?
Canaanland plate too.
Right? What's the big deal? Right? But again, the individuals are trying to push like
anything.
Exercising right to travel as a Moor has to do with some plate or something like that. It has nothing to do with that. Like we said, there's Moors with state plates and license or whatever and insurance or whatever that be tickets. So it's not about plate, card and all that stuff. It's about what's your mentality. And the people who are always talking against the teachings of Noble Drew Ali through active Moors are the dirtiest people that's out there. The people who try to convince, just like what you were saying, the people who try to convince people that, for example, one of these other Moors out here, just wayward, Talik L. AA222141 is just the Library of Congress registration number for the Zodiac Constitution. But copycats don't research nothing. And then V. Trotman Bay says, right, tell Taj to show you his ID. Next time I see him, he lives in Philly, but his family's in Camden. Right, he has a temple card in his pocket as well. If it's not in line with the Prophet, you will see what they have planned. Now, what we planned as active Moors is to, just like what the brother did, take that same paper card that these dirty Moors been had for 8 years, the temple card that doesn't have ID on it, the temple card that doesn't have a picture on it, the temple card that doesn't have a signature on it, temple card that just says Moor Science Temple on it. You are a member of it, this is your nationality card of a Moor Science Temple, whatever, and then the black's blank. Taking that card and using the number verbal and still getting taxes off. Not even showing that the card is relative to this number. Just using the number only, verbally, and using the card that is a paper card that you have to laminate, right? Now that's the nationality card that he's talking about. Natasha has that card, he doesn't have the card or whatever. And then AA222 is just whatever. Well, if AA22 is just some Library of Congress number that only applies to Library of Congress, then how come all these stores out here taking it? And when they put it in the, because you know, if you don't put a right number in the computer, it's going to tell you. That number has nothing to do with tax exemption or nothing like that. Well, what these fools here are failing to realize is that that number is not just the Library of Congress registration number. That number is actually the Library of Congress registration number for what's in the Zodiac Constitution. Because Zodiac Constitution is not just the cover page. Zodiac Constitution is a booklet that has certain things in it relative to Moors, whether it's court, taxation, whatever like that, it's in that book.
Okay.
And that book is filed in the Library of Congress. So that means that the powers in that book, the powers established by CMB in that book, is what's filed under that number in the Library of Congress, not the Zodiac Constitution. The Zodiac Constitution is the name of the document. But what's filed in the Library of Congress is the articles of the Zodiac Constitution. That's what's filed, not the Zodiac Constitution. But you say Zodiac Constitution to people and they're looking at astrology stuff and trying to see where Taurus is and where Cancer is. That's not what Zodiac Constitution is a book. They don't do with the Zodiac and all that stuff. It's a book dealing with the laws between the Magna Carta foreigners and the Asiatics of the North Gate and how their interaction is supposed to be with each other. And the reason why that this was presented by CMB, because astrologically that's what time it is. That's why it was called Zodiac Constitution.
At the time when it was.
At the time when it was done was the time that this unification, because remember he's dealing off of Noble Drew Ali, who's dealing off the fact that there's a constitution and there's treaty. And the constitution and treaty is what set up the union. They even say it in the document, right? That union was violated. So CMB put something else on the record, so that they can't get caught up in thinking that, well, because Noble Drew Ali died, and then because there was a sellout, and then people took over or whatever like that, means that there's no such thing as Moorish nationality and birthrights anymore or whatever like that. No, he just reiterated everything that was already on the record to put it on the record again.
And look at the time.
Because of all the dirty Moors, right?
The time is 1956, around that time,
right,
when Morocco, the kingdom,
and they lost their power.
So,
right? So he put everything back into the hands of the Moors. And then Moors are saying that, oh, that's just a Library of Congress, what they're filing. Moors saying that. So clearly they don't even know what the filing had to do with. They haven't even went to the Library of Congress and asked for the copyright to see what was filed. But then they're talking about, copycats don't research nothing. Copycats don't research nothing, but they're under the assumption that CMB's AA222141 and the other numbers that he filed in there are just numbers of some filing in the Library of Congress, not knowing that those filing numbers go back to documents. Those filing numbers go back to documents that were filed, right? So when you hear the name V. Trotman Bey and Talik L, don't listen to those Moors. They don't know what they're talking about. Talik L, somebody who I know had conversation with. Let me see if I got his number in here still.
But here's the question. Here's another question.
They never talked to Cujo. They don't know.
Why are they still asking or pushing information in regards to Taj? Why just worry about self for the moment? Like, why are you worried about Taj? Like,
well, when you have those martial arts movies when you have like you have the two students, and then one student turns and goes against the master. Okay, that's these guys. Right? These are the guys going against the master now, and they're coming up like, you know what I mean? Like, you think you taught us whatever sort of crane of the whatever. We learned the freaking snake from this guy. We're gonna come beat your ass with some. Well, the crane was really a snake, and you were too stupid to realize whatever. So we're gonna kick your ass with crane and snake, just because. You're so stupid. And then they got their ass kicked, and then they're talking about coming back in and stuff like that. What the hell out here?
Why are you worried about Taj for? Like,
you know what I mean?
it's just he's giving information.
It's another brother out there. It's another brother just putting out info on the history of the Moors.
That's it. Like,
and everybody who's dirty always calls his name. Everybody who has an issue with civic, active, trustworthy, faithful, Noble Drew Ali Moors, always bring him up.
Like, he's gonna make mistakes if he's made mistakes, but like, it boggles the mind that people are still worried about Taj. Yeah. What have you done?
What have you done?
You know what I'm saying?
V. Trotman Bey and Talik L.
Yeah, what have you done? Like, come on.
On top of that, like, how long have you been around?
Yeah, like, straight up.
It's just the power around 5 years, 6 years. Like, it's got the commander over. Of
decades.
his words, just spells.
I don't
It
know.
just, it
I
just
don't know.
messes up their dirty work.
Yeah,
I think it's because Tyler's the most clout right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it ain't no secret.
You talk about Moors, you know Taj's name coming up.
Exactly. Number one name.
Anybody who's studying this information, and who you study from? Well, and they mention all the other names except Taj Street Bay, they're not studying nothing. They're playing games.
We're not studying.
Right? They're not studying nothing. They're playing.
Just giving you reference points and you go do your own. You know?
A year ago when I started to study civics, this brother, Zodiac sent me information associated with a fee for credit card clearance and secured party creditors. I thought you should know about this. I'll forward you the email. Right? And then he has, you know, webinar.
It works, it just doesn't work.
For creditors, debtors, contractors, and
Taz
all,
and Dak.
all this stuff. Yeah,
He's
Taz-
like
Taz-
I don't know, he's like a Hebrew man.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, Taz of that. So when you start hearing that these Moors are trying to push concepts of secured party, as soon as you start hearing those stuff, automatically know that that individual is on some European sovereign whatever. Leave them individuals alone. Because, you know, like they want to pull stuff on us, we're going to pull stuff on us. Where no Gujarati bring that? Where no Gujarati talk about secured party creditors and stuff like that? Nowhere. So it should be nothing that Moors are moving towards.
And that should be your ultimate barometer.
Yeah, big time.
Prophet's word.
Big time.
It's not in the work, it's not relevant.
Right?
It's not in the work.
You know? Don't be fooled by these people trying to play like, you know, down with the Moorish movement and all that stuff, and then, you know, they're the first one talking negative about sincere, active Moors. As soon as they start negative about active Moors, you already know that they're up to something. You know that they're up to something. And I'm not, you know what I mean? I've never followed no Tazadak and all that stuff, no credit, anything like that. But when people are talking about process for 700, 1200 and all that stuff, they're not getting my fiat for no goddamn any type of process. Right? Like, it's not happening.